people think that reading and writing are adult education, but these are just foundational skills that help you to learn whatever you want to or need to learn. And from our point of view, from the MOJA African Continental Project point of view, adult education is something very multi-sectoral. So it involves all sectors, and I think we will see that today from our two presenters. And now can be a good time to thank Professor Rebecca Lekoko from Botswana and Salome Terahfrom from Kenya, our two presenters who also wrote articles for the last issue of the journal. And they will show different aspects, how different realities where adult education and learning are really playing a meaningful role in people's lives and changing them. So if we take one message away from today, it's really that adult education is something very multi-sectoral. And please don't think that it's only reading and writing. These are foundational skills, but we need to use them as tools to help us to learn all the other things that we want to and need to learn in our lives. So without further ado, I welcome you all to this, our first webinar of the year. And I'll pass over to my colleagues, Umaima and Norisha, who will be moderating today, and see you through the rest of the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. So hello, everyone. My name is Umaima Kefi, and I'm the Regional Communications Officer for North Africa at DVV International and a member of the ACP team. So I will continue moderating this webinar in French. So if you would like to follow in English, please switch the English interpretation channel. Donc, comme je viens de le dire, je vais continuer en français et on va commencer par la présentation de Madame Salomé. Donc, je vais partager avec vous la présentation. Mais avant cela, je voudrais présenter Madame Salomé. Donc, Madame Salome Olesi Terahfrom est la directrice adjointe de l'éducation des adultes et responsable des programmes d'apprentissage et d'éducation des adultes dans le comté de Nairobi. Titulaire d'un master en planification et gestion, elle œuvre dans le domaine de l'apprentissage et éducation des adultes depuis plus de 20 ans. Elle a initié la première conférence de l'apprentissage et l'éducation des adultes au Kenya en 2016 et a piloté plusieurs initiatives majeures dans l'organisation d'une semaine des apprenants à Nairobi. Je voudrais bien rappeler qu'il vaut mieux, s'il vous plaît, mettre votre micro en mode off. Merci beaucoup. Donc, je vais continuer. Elle a initié la première conférence sur l'apprentissage et l'éducation des adultes au Kenya et elle a piloté plusieurs initiatives majeures dont l'organisation d'une semaine des apprenants à Nairobi, la création de centres communautaires d'apprentissage et le lancement d'une académie gratuite de week-end au sein de l'International Youth Fellowship qui a accueilli plus de 20 000 jeunes et adultes depuis 2023. Donc, sans plus tarder, on va passer à la présentation de Madame Salomé et je vous passe la parole, Madame Salomé.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. All that has been said about me is that, and as I talk to you today, we are looking at escalating Nairobi Learning City to give even more opportunities. And today I'll focus on Gravity Community Learning Center and Competency-Based Education Center. And it's a one-stop learning venue for all levels of education within Nairobi County and in the country. It's the one and only one-stop learning center. There is none other than that one. And it has a state-of-art facilities with the resources that are produced from locally available materials, and we use facilitators, the teachers we use at that venue, at that center are people who have been trained. They have either been teachers, they have either been community facilitators, they have either been in different parts of, and different levels. Maybe the next slide, please. Now, the center offers experiential learning to learners of all levels because if you are even in ECD level, there's something you learn there. If you are as old as even 90 years, there's something we will learn there. You will learn the current things and you will also teach the old. It offers parental empowerment and involvement because our parents get there to learn on CBC and to learn on how to improve their own lives. And also, it helps them understand what the CBE is. That is CBC, which was some competency-based curriculum, but now it is called CBE, competency-based education, as of late last year. And it's a curriculum that came to replace the 844. And therefore, we shall now go deep to look into the interaction of activities at Gravity Community Learning Center. In that slide, you can see those are learners at one point or the right, we have adult learners being empowerment. On the bottom, community-based center by the management group that is running that. And on the right corner, you can see me seated somewhere on the right where we are dealing with the management committee. The next slide, please. Now, at CBC Community Learning Centers, we don't have permanent structures, but we have container structures which have learning studios, and these learning studios offer practical experience in line with the community-based, competency-based education, where learning areas, if it is in cookery, they were taught how to cook. If it is in home science, where you're doing food and nutrition, you're showed the type of foods right from the farm. So in those studios, we even have the art studios, we have the science studios, we have the various studios. If you look at the slide that will follow, you'll see the studios. And in those studios, they are equipped with relevant resources, materials, which provide learners with hands-on experience. For example, if you walk into a biology studio and you're doing something to do with respiratory system, you get in touch with the lungs, you blow the air in and blow and let students see the expansion and the contraction when breathing in and out is happening. So through these learning studios, we even have experiential learning where you have children learning from the elderly on various activities that were done in the olden days. So the studios always foster creativity where the learners now try to improve on the traditional bits, skills that they are learning to make them better, and they innovate, and then it brings about love for lifelong learning. Next slide, please. Those are part of the studios. You can see we have the science studio on the top right, where we have models that were produced in the country by the proprietors of this. And when we have the life specimen, you can see there is the pottery section. You can see there is somebody carrying foodstuffs. That is a cookery class. Where do we start from cookery? Right from the farm. And then there are very many different types of studios. Let's move to the next slide, please. I hope we are on slide 6. We also have the Ark of the Covenant, and the Ark of the Covenant is not only for this for the Christians. This department offers a comprehensive education on diverse aspects of different religions in this country. And you read it in the news that Christians had gone somewhere in Shakahola and they were killing themselves because of the faith. You've heard Muslims are having issues here and there. So in this Ark of the Covenant, all religions are covered, and it provides a deep understanding of different belief systems in the current society, and the education which leads to interfaith dialogues. Our different children, the Buddhists, the Muslims, the Christians, are learning in same classes. How do they coexist? In the community, we are living in different spaces, but we have different faiths. We even have traditionalists. They all have how to coexist. So it provides a space for all systems of beliefs to interact with each other harmoniously, so that we have a harmonious Kenyan society. And if you look at the studio, you can see the Ark of the Covenant. The pastors from different denominations came in to learn, and you can see a facilitator trying to explain to them how it meant that the laws that are put in place are supposed to bring harmony for people to live and love each other, and how in the current Christian environment, when Jesus died, it's not only a pastor who should pray for you, but you should also learn to pray. Next slide, please. I hope you're going on slide 8. There is an AI studio, and this is the beacon of innovation for our children in the CBC framework, and it integrates the current advancement in the AI technology, where they pick on what we used to do traditionally in a long way, but they are able to learn using the AI and come up with better ideas. For example, there are games even for children on problem solving skills, digital solving skills, on literacy skills, on innovation, on critical thinking. For example, if your child is weak in mathematics, you put them together with one who is bright, but you make sure the AI will always try and balance, so that the one who is weak doesn't feel maths has overwhelmed me. So they end up loving it and solving problems. If it's to do with moving from one point to another within town, there is an AI tool whereby they do it practically, how you can get that done on phone and move from one point to the other, so that they have skills for the 21st century learner. Next slide, please. And you can see in that slide, we have the children interacting with the AI. There is one, because of space we did not put, where adults are also interacting. Let's move to slide 10, please. There we have the agricultural education farm, and in this farm, the learners of all ages, including adult learners, are taught how to farm in their spaces within the urban area, so that they can have the best vegetables. You can raise a few animals. You can have your own 2 or 4 chicken. You get your own eggs, and then they gain knowledge to sustain themselves and care for their own environment. And those who are in the estates, they are shown how you can have some farm animals intercrop mix them with gardens where you're planting vegetables. There are small fish ponds where we have tanks which can hold about 50 ponds. We also have greenhouses that are watered using solar panels, or even having solar panels that can heat water for cooking, for drinking, and all that. So it helps them develop practical skills using locally available materials like polythene and black pipes to have water being heated. And you can look at that in the slide that is there. You can see you have vegetable gardens, we have the greenhouse, we have the pig farming, we have the poultry, we have the cow, and we have the guinea pigs. And that one cow produces biogas that is being used to cook at that center when they are doing practicals. Then slide 12 is entertainment. We realize that when you just learn and you don't incorporate sports, people become bored. People feel it's like a punishment. So at Gravity, you will learn for 2 hours and even play for 1 hour, whether you are an adult or you are or you're a junior person. And this helps support of psychomotor development, and then also it helps in people at least having leisure. So learning is fun, because even when they are playing, they are also learning something, how to share the resources, how to communicate with each other. There is also swimming, there are also children games there, and this helps build the various entertainment sports for the children. We go to slide 14, the CBC structure model. When CBC started, parents did not know how it is going to be. But at Gravity, we have learning which is carried out formally in the studios, informally when you go around the farms and go around, meet people doing different things, and non-formally when they are interacting with each other. And the illustrations are very clear that we have regular learners there, we have learners with special needs, we have school dropouts, and we have adult learners there learning different things. And it shows that life starts from conception. That's why we need to take care of our young parents when they are conceived. They should know that our life has started. And at that point, when a child is still in the womb, parents must take care of each other so that the latent potential of this child begins. And when the child is born, this latent will affect this child when they are learning through. So the teacher will have to work on that latent, reduce the latent, and have this child go through experiences in different learning environments and come out as a whole person. So the pathway models are very clear. There are three. We have the early years, we have the middle school education, and the senior school education. And beyond that, now we have the adult learning, where you get in and get out to go to the world of work and get back to come and learn. And it outlines the different ages where you can get in, what you can learn, and what you can do. Look, without belaboring so much there, it shows how learning takes place progressively from one link to the other. A child may drop out at grade 3 and because of problems and come back when they are adults. Where do they get in and how do they learn? This career pathway shows, you'll go through it because you have the slide. It shows you, if you want to become a nurse, what should you be good in? If you can't become a nurse, what else can you do? So it shows you at this point, you take this subject, you'll become a nurse. But if you never manage to become a nurse, what else can you be in the community? Because everybody in the community is important. Then we move to our next slide, which is slide 17. That is community meeting venue and in income generating hub, where communities come here, they converge, they have meetings, share problems, solve the problems, they celebrate their successes. The graduations and weddings are held here. When there are rites of passage after circumcision, they come and converge and teach the young adults how they are going to behave. It is done here because we have the elderly coming to teach them how they should behave. And it's also a business hub whereby different people come in when programs are ongoing. Some come to sell food stamps, some come to sell their homemade articles in different shapes and sizes, and different foodstuffs that if you don't want to eat the westernized food, you can eat the locally available food at an affordable price. And so it is also a job creation for the locals. They come and work there and get a living. So you can see that on the next slide. You can see we have a cookery class, you have people having a meetings, you've seen people taking a photo. Those are adult education instructors with their learners who had come to the farm to learn. You can see a wedding. There was also a graduation ceremony that had taken place there, and very many activities happened there. Slide 19, please. Slide 19 now talks about parental engagement and involvement, because learning is not only for teachers to educate the children, but the center will enhance parents' skills. Whether you are literate or not, you need to have a say and you demystify education. What is this education? CBC education that is being offered to your children. What is your part? You may be literate, you don't know how to keep a diary, but how do you monitor your child's progress? You can ask questions orally. You can be given a phone call and you discuss that this child has come home with this homework and I'm unable to do this. How do I go about it? Then you plan a meeting with the teacher and you're shown how to go. And in the same space, once the teachers realize the parents are illiterate, then we start adult learning classes in those primary schools, in those secondary schools, to enhance the literacy of the parents. It also helps them at least to know that parents can use their knowledge that they have learned practically in the farms to improve on their nutrition, their health, and everything. So they engage in safe agricultural practices for food security in the urban areas and carry this back to their communities when they go to the rural area. You can see these are photos of parents who had come all the way from a different part from Nairobi. They came all the way from a different county to come and learn how they are going to understand the pathways for their children. Slide 21 is something new that is not in the magazine. When we realized that we no longer have the bomas of Kenya, it had been demolished, we decided we are going to make sure that at Gravity Boma, we are going to have a community-driven and learner-centered where we are going to preserve our culture. And at Boma, we find that it addresses real life challenges facing communities. How are people living in the past? How are we solving conflicts within our communities? How are people living in those communities? Because we are one individual, it doesn't mean that we had anything different. Where did we go wrong? How was a lazy person treated in the community? So this initiative aims at preserving Kenya's rich cultural heritage across various tribes. We've put together stories, music, artifacts, traditions, indigenous knowledge in one package where you enter that Gravity Boma and you see the whole of the Kenyan society. So it brings together the young and the old to reflect on how communities live harmoniously, how they resolve conflicts, and through guided reflections, the learners will always connect to culture, human rights, shared responsibilities, and practical solutions. Because today it's a human right, but does it mean if that human right is interfering with somebody else, it becomes a human right? Every human right has a social responsibility. What is your responsibility? What is my responsibility for us to get a practical solution to whatever is affecting us? And finally, you look at that is Gravity Boma. You get in; those are just a few photos of that. You get in and you get a feel of Kenyan culture plus the international cultures that have come to live in Kenya. They are found at that space. It came up towards the end of last year and it's doing well. And we can say we are improving every time. We've also introduced something known as agritourism because our youths want something that is fun. So if you visit Gravity, you visit working farms or agricultural areas for leisure. And the clip that I have shared last that will be put after is being used to do agritourism, where we even have crop cultivation, animal rearing, and harvesting of foodstuffs. And then we have a spot where pigs were even raising. And this is to make people understand that how we can make fun. But can you also make people come and give income by looking at how your pigs are raising? In a community, you can bring people together. They have even rabbits raising, depending on the skills they have taught them. So that one is also being done at Gravity. People learn how to farm, use the most available materials, or if they can access the modern materials to mix together so that they are able to promote the farming practices and also have it as a sport and fun. So the center has various animals like pigs, guinea pigs, rabbits, we have turkeys, and all these animals, we are looking at how to have fun with them, running here and there for people to enjoy. In conclusion, before I even forget, there's something we are working up on to see if we can make this gravity idea virtual, that if you are in Tanzania, in South Africa, you can visit gravity virtually and get to learn and borrow one or two. So that one we are working on. When it is ready, I'll be able to share. So in conclusion, this facility has a great potential. It offers practical learning from early childhood right down to informal education and formal education, adult and continuing education. All that is being done there. Climate change, positive attitude change, and also it is changing day in, day out. And the institution should be developed and move towards having a facility that is going to help people solve different problems. Because even right now we have a wing where TVETs can now learn, universities are coming to benchmark, even the curriculum developers are now benchmarking at Gravity. Without much ado, thank you very much. God bless you all. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, I will just... ok, donc je vais continuer en français. Merci beaucoup pour cette présentation. Et avant d'ouvrir la discussion, ou plutôt avant de passer à la prochaine présentation, je vous propose un court moment pour des questions de clarification. Donc, s'il y a un point que vous souhaitez préciser, un concept ou une approche ou une donnée, n'hésitez pas. On vous donne un court moment pour poser vos questions. Si vous avez des questions de clarification, n'hésitez pas à le faire maintenant. Donc, vous pouvez écrire sur le chat, bien sûr, ou bien lever la main. Et s'il n'y a pas de questions, on peut passer à la deuxième présentation. Lorisha? Maybe we can start the second presentation if there is no question for clarification.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Lorisha Erasmus. I am a program officer on the ACP MOJA team. I just wanted to just quickly say that if anyone has any questions for Ms. Salome, please put it in the chat, because she won't be here until the end when we open for plenary discussion. So it would have been ideal for her to actually tackle those questions now before she has to go to another commitment, please. So if anyone has anything, comments, questions, please do add it in the chat. So I want to go on and introduce our next speaker, if that is okay. I am going to be just quickly giving you her bio. Her name is Professor Rebecca Lekoko. She is from Botswana, and she is a professor of adult education, lifelong learning, and community development. Her work integrates a wide range of critical issues, including life skills development and the empowerment of marginal groups such as older adults. She has conducted extensive research in non-formal education and has contributed significantly to the Department of Out-of-School Education and Training, serving in various capacities as a keynote speaker, a trainer of trainers, advisory committee member, and a researcher. And Professor Rebecca has also published widely. So without further ado, I would like to hand over to Professor Rebecca.
Thank you, Salome. I mean, Erasmus, I'm calling you Salome. I'm just going to be sharing my presentation. May I know if it is showing?
It is showing, yes.
It is showing.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Erasmus. Let me first of all also start by thanking you all for coming for this presentation. I have already been introduced. What I'm going to be focusing on is the other section of the presentation, which is entrepreneurial pathway in adult education. And my presentation is basically based on the article that I co-authored in MOJA Journal issue, which is, let me take out this thing, is I can't find probably, entitled Entrepreneurial Seniors, the Role of Out of School Education and Training. And it basically says education has an important role to play in the lives of adults, no matter their age. And the article was actually showcasing how adult education, mentorship, and community recognition can enable older adults to improve livelihood and contribute meaningfully to the society. As a way of introduction, let me start by saying in Botswana, out-of-school education is mandated with provision of functional literacy and entrepreneurial skills to deserving adults to equip them with the necessary skills to engage in various economic activities. Functional literacy goes beyond basic literacy. It actually gives learners the ability to use reading, writing, and numeracy skills to live their lives in the most productive way possible by addressing two important dimensions of vulnerability, which is lack of or low income and participation poverty. Participation poverty refers to the situations where materially poor individuals, they lack meaningful opportunities to participate in decisions that affect their lives, such as lack of access to resource, information, or decision-making processes. This hinder their ability to be industrious. Lack of income is promoted by entrepreneurial training, and learners choose from diverse areas such as agriculture, home economics, tourism, and the others that you can see there. The paper that we co-authors was first of all based on the selection of participants from the OSET 2024 report with the following statistics. In that report, at that time, we had about 128 adult entrepreneurs. And the age range is as follows. 48% of these, they were 50 to 64 years. 34%, 65 years and above, and 18%, 49 years and below. All this information that I'm presenting, like I said, I took it from the report, the OSET report 2024. As a way of introduction, I want to borrow from Paul Sengreto from his article, which said, Embracing Entrepreneurship in Senior Years, a path to continued growth and legacy building. And in this paper, he says, seniors are increasingly stepping into the entrepreneurial arena. They are proving that age is not a barrier to starting a business. Rather, is an asset that brings depth, resilience, and a unique perspective to the entrepreneurial journey. He continues to say that age brings a wealth of knowledge, experience, and a network that is unparalleled. Seniors can navigate the challenges of entrepreneurship with a level of grace and wisdom that is hard-earned. Senior entrepreneurs challenge outdated notion of retirement, showcasing that senior years can be a time of dynamic growth and contribution. I really like this information because in a way it successfully express the message that I have. With this important message, I'm just going to be sharing two amazing stories of senior entrepreneurs in the field of adult education. These adults were trained through out-of-school education and training, and they still enjoy a firm support and guidance from the Department of Out-of-School Education and Training. Remember the first slide when I showed you the statistic, I'm talking about them here, I'm referring to them there. And the two who were selected were among those who demonstrated remarkable resilience, having to face and overcome multiple setbacks, such as no financial support for startup, no market to sell, etc. And these are the two that I'm going to be talking about. Kena now is 67, and everything that I've written here are the descriptions that they themselves, they gave me. They are not coming from me. She described herself as a hard worker and a multitasker, and she still does both basketry and pottery. And she said she's really passionate about her businesses. Her choice to pursue basketry and pottery came from years of experience gained through sitting next to Nelly, that is observing, learning, and doing hands-on work under the guidance of her mother. Her business started in 2013. Her baskets and pots are used during traditional activities and events like weddings and the Dikavela at home. The Dikavela is just a village celebration of the first fruit. And the next one is Hadifeli, 65 years, and she described herself as a hustler, a hard worker, and with a profound commitment and dedication to her work. She does sewing and plastic recycling. And she is the only person in the area actively and enthusiastically producing recycled plastic items such as shoes, bags, and hats. You can see them in the picture if they can clearly be shown there. Her business also started in 2013 due to the demand for products and lessons learned from OSET about the environmental benefits of plastic recycling. She also hoped that the business she was doing will be able to support her and her family. And she has actually shown that she did a number of, she managed, achieved things like home improvement, painting, flowering, and some fixtures. I just want now to take you through, just briefly through what I call OSET entrepreneur empowerment framework. I've already talked about the mandate that and paying that their mandate is provision of functional literacy and entrepreneur skills to deserving adults. The OSET that I'm describing right now is the one that is supported by the government of Botswana. So it is a program within the Department of Out-of-School Education under the government of Botswana. I have already described the mandate in the introduction, paying greater attention to two important dimensions of OSET training: functional literacy and participation poverty. In addition to that mandate, it is another important aspect of the training empowerment is the targeted training. What do I mean by targeted training? This basically implies that training has to focus on the real learner's learning needs. The training menu has many areas to choose from, and learners' choice can be influenced by a number of factors, including, for example, the experiences they bring. Like if you take the two, you will realize the two of them, they actually chose to do the business they are choosing because they had experiences that they were building on. Potential business locations. In Botswana, you know, the rural and the urban, they are very, very different, or even the south and the north is very, very different. You'll find that in the south, they have water. In the north, in the north, they have water. In the south, they don't have water. So whatever business that we do, because most of this business, they rely on local material, it will also determine the type of business that they want to do. So that is what we mean by targeted training, that it has to be training designed to match the specific high demand of the people, or a personalized choice training. The other important thing of the empowerment model is the practicals. If we all remember, there's a common slogan that training should focus on the triple H. That is H, which means the head, the heart, and the hands. That's what OSEC training is doing. It's mandated to do both the theoretical knowledge, but to turn this theoretical knowledge into something that adults can use for their livelihood. And in addition to that, you'll find that during training, they do a lot of hands-on experience. For example, trainees will be taken to spend time in real-world environment where they can learn, and where possible, because at times it's not possible, they will even use industry standard tools. And then the issue of entrepreneurial ecosystem support. This one, it talks to the need to create a collaborative environment for all who can support OSET and its trainees. We need a highly integrated or interconnected network of support for the necessary socio-economic, logistic, and technical support. And for example, when they want tools or equipment, they should be able to get them. For example, in Botswana, government, it gives what it calls startup support under a scheme called poverty reduction scheme, where if you want to start a small business, you can actually be given everything that you want to start a business with for free without giving it back. And you find that if they are not exposed to this while they are not in training, when they finish, they may not take advantage of that. And the study that we did 2 years ago, it actually indicated that older adults, they do not take advantage of these free startups that are given by the government. There is also one important office in Botswana called the Citizen Empowerment Development Agency, where they can apply for money and they will return it with very, very small percentage, 3-7%, to start their businesses. So if they are not exposed to this during training, you find that when they finish, they can't even start their businesses because they don't know about these opportunities. And we also have what we call the local enterprise authority, where if they want to do some proposals, they can actually be helped to put their proposal. And the last thing that they do, OSET does, is the post-training mentorship that I'll talk about as we go on, because it's part of it's part of the paper that we produced. And I think I also wanted to briefly go over the barriers that the senior entrepreneurs, they have to navigate in Botswana. First of all, in Botswana, adults 65 years and over are classified as part of vulnerable groups, together with the poor, often single parents, and all these people that we see there, persons with disability. While this may be done for the purposes of giving them some handout, what, it has also a disadvantage side, because most of senior adults will be looked at from the perspective of deficiency. They need to be given something. They cannot be able to do this, not from the empowerment model. So these are some of the barriers that they need to navigate, to show people that we are not deficient. We can still be empowered and do something for ourselves. And the other thing is that the socio-economic development in Botswana has never ever kept pace with the rapid speed of aging population. Thus, there is some misalignment of some services with the needs of older adults. And these are some other things. I won't go over them one by one, but I'll just a little bit touch. For example, if you take the socio-economic inequalities, approximately 91% of older Botswana live below the poverty line. And the government pension starts at 65. So people, before they reach 65, some of them, they don't even have anything to survive on. So they cannot even try to start business. They will wait to be given, and there's not a lot of money right now. It's 1,400 pula, which could be 140 American dollars, I think, or less, or slightly less. And then the other thing is that up to now, Botswana is one of the countries without older adult policy. They are still working on it. So you can just think, if there is no older adult policy, then how is their need being catered for? The issue of gender inequality. Most of older adults, when we retire, we go back to our birthrights in the rural areas. And you find that most of them, they carry the burden of looking after their children's children, because their children will come into town to look for employment and leave their children with them. Some of them, they will come and they won't even go back to go and see what is happening in the villages. So there is that other burden, which is more on women than males. And the other things that I have there, I think you have seen them. Because of time, I'll just move to another thing. I want to talk about this slide, take a little bit of time talking about their wish. Their wish, it actually embeds both the findings and the recommendations from the two seniors that we talked about. The first thing was that they wish Botswana could have what they called senior entrepreneurship support systems, like policy guidelines. Like I said, we don't have policy guidelines specifically tailored to older people, and marketing strategies. When we look at the policy guideline, the Senior Entrepreneur Support Services, it can address a number of specific needs of these entrepreneurs. For example, technological gaps. These days, people, they market their products using technology. They communicate to buyers using technology. They can even see what others can actually afford to give them through technology. But you find that many older adults in Botswana, or older entrepreneurs in Botswana, they still have not gotten the use of technology in their hands. So they need support in adopting new technologies so that they can remain competitive. The other thing about the entrepreneur support system is that it can actually help them to gain access to finances. And especially, I'm talking about financing from the government. Because although I said you find that most of finances in Botswana, government finances in Botswana, they will not say senior people or older people, but they will say persons 18 years and over. And most of the people who will take advantage of those are those less than 60. That is a study that, like I said, we did, and we found that most of these senior people, they just don't take advantage of what the government is offering. Only the young ones are actually taking advantage of what the government is offering. The other thing is that we still have what I can call ageism in Botswana, where people still have stereotypes and ageist attitude towards senior entrepreneurs, looking at them as, why do you have to do business when we are too old? You can't move, you can't do all those things. And at times, those who have learned helplessness, they get discouraged. So if they have senior entrepreneur support system, then it can actually even show the nation that these people, they can do something. Issue of mentorship and coaching will also come in when they can think about developing a very strong senior entrepreneur support system, as well as issues of networking opportunities. One thing that they complained about is that they even failed, for example, to network and participate in consumer affairs, national consumer affairs that are always taking place in Botswana. So if these senior entrepreneurship support systems are very strong, then they can be exposed even to potential partners. The other issue that they talked about was certification of their indigenous skills. The two of them, they started the business after learning. I have said one learned from the parent, and really the two of them, they learned from their parent. So they said, perhaps we need to be certificated. And for them, certification of their indigenous knowledge is very crucial, because they believe certificate can provide legitimacy needed to operate in modern markets and compete when opportunities arise. For example, they gave an example that at times the government or other organization, they put up some openings for training, wanting people who can train people to do, for example, basketry, pottery, and because they don't have certificates, they can't apply for those opportunities. So they actually said certificate, if they have them, it can actually open some opportunities for themselves, even to participate in national consumer affairs. They can do that. Access to finance, I said it, but I'll say it again because it is one of the concerns that they raised. They said with the certificate, they believe that they can apply and be assisted when people they see that they have the expertise to do what they are doing. The other thing that they talked about was the issue of brand identity. They said with the certificate, we are able to brand our indigenous or life experiences and use it to pass it on to other people who can actually use it, which brings us to the issue of intergenerational transfer, which was another issue that they were really interested in doing. And the last one was empowerment to participate in existing government empowerment poverty reduction schemes. I have already talked about this because I said in Botswana, we have poverty reduction schemes where you can be given money if you want to start a kiosk. They can buy you a kiosk, they can buy you whatever material that you want so that you can start. But you find that at times, most of these older adults are not empowered. to access some of the opportunities like this. So their wish was that they need to be empowered more so that they can see what is available for them to do. Having said that, I want to close by saying this information was actually sourced from storytelling. We just sat with them and they told us a story. And then we actually saw this story as things that can transform or inspire people to really want or encourage senior people to engage in entrepreneur. These are the references that I think I used. And with that, I want to say thank you for listening to this presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Professor Rebecca. Also thanking Salome in her absence. Now we would like to open the floor for any questions, observations, comments that you might have to the presentation of Professor Rebecca.
So, Lorisha, Mr. Hassan Slimani shared an experience with us. Donc, je vais dire ça en français parce qu'il a écrit en français. Donc, n'hésitez pas à mettre l'interprétation, la traduction en anglais. Donc, il a partagé une expérience et il a dit en Algérie, il a été ouvert des centres d'alphabétisation et de préqualification de femmes et de jeunes filles. Les apprenantes sont alphabétisées et dotées de qualifications professionnelles et accompagnées pour exercer des activités génératrices de revenus et continuer bien sûr leur étude à distance. Ils ont remarqué au bout de quelques années que la fréquentation a baissé. Donc, ils voulaient comprendre pourquoi et ils ont mené une enquête. Donc, l'enquête a été menée par l'UNICEF et ils ont déterminé la raison principale de ce problème-là. Et c'était parce que les mamans qui avaient des enfants qui étaient quand même petits, n'avaient pas les moyens pour les laisser à la maison et partir rejoindre ces centres-là. Donc, elles ne pouvaient pas rejoindre les centres et laisser leurs enfants à la maison. Donc, ce qu'ils ont fait, ils ont créé des espaces pour les enfants de 3 à 5 ans qui ont été aménagés dans ces centres. Et la maman apprend dans une salle et son enfant, il est dans une autre salle avec aussi une enseignante ou des éducatrices formées pour, euh, pour élever les enfants. Donc voilà le résultat, d'après Monsieur Hassan Slimani, les résultats étaient spectaculaires, autant pour les femmes, parce qu'elles arrivent maintenant à rejoindre ces centres-là, et c'était aussi spectaculaire pour la scolarité future des enfants. Donc voilà, je voulais partager ça avec vous. C'est un commentaire de Monsieur Hassan Slimani dans le chat. Alors n'hésitez pas aussi à partager avec nous vos expériences et vos questions sur le chat. Merci.
Yes, David?
Okay, I'd like to first say thanks, Rebecca, very much for a really interesting presentation. And also, you know, I've read this article too about the role of older people, and we know that in many countries, you know, it's overlooked the role that elderly people can play in society. But okay, it sounds to me that on one hand, the government of Botswana they're taking it seriously. They're saying, "Oh, these elderly people have something to offer," but on the other hand, they're not creating all the conditions necessary for that to happen the way it could happen. So I guess my question is, if you could change something tomorrow about the system, what is good at the moment, and what would you change, say tomorrow, if by magic you can change something?
You want me to answer it now or wait for other questions?
Sure. If there's another question, we can go ahead, or if there isn't one right now, maybe please go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me just reiterate what you said. Just the government of Botswana is doing its best to help these adults to be self-reliant. But I'll say, but there are still some things to be changed. For example, when you go to these centers, I actually visited 1 or 2 or 3 centers during the time when I wanted to do this paper. You will realize that the centers are slowly and slowly, I don't know what way to say, but they are slowly and slowly not getting resources from the government. And basically, because I'll say the leadership and the management, because when you put leadership or management, the national leader or management, without knowledge of adult education, what it can do, then things are likely to change. I just want to explain that further. As you all know, Botswana has a new government, has changed the government after 58 years, and a new government just got in. And when the new government got in, the basic adult education that I'm talking about was integrated into a single ministry. Now the ministry is called Basic Welfare, Basic Child Welfare, something like that. It's called Child Welfare and Basic Education. So what is happening right now, the concentration that was given to OSEC that I just talked about is slowly and slowly, dying, because now the focus is more on child welfare, and they have shifted away from the type of basic education that we know. Now, when they say basic education, they are more talking about a foundational education of, let me just say, standard 1, 2, Form 5. So if I had to change something, one thing that I will do is to ensure that whoever sits at the management, and especially the national management, should be a trained adult educator who should be able at least to articulate what needs to happen and understand, for example, when these people come to him or her to ask for some resources, because that for me is what is seriously lacking right now and worrying right now, because the centers are likely to close. That is the major thing. Although there are some other things, for example, when we talk about funding, they completely don't have any funding model at all. They depend on the little that on the little that they get from their from selling, and some of them, it will be a huge extended family that they are taking care of. So more important, the leadership, and secondly, the resource, being able to resource the offset centers, because they are now poorly resourced. So they wish they can go out to do the post, like I talked about, the mentorship and the mentorship, post-mentorship, and coaching after they train them, but they are very thin on the ground. So those are the two basic things that perhaps I can do. And perhaps I can actually, you said, what will I like to change? But I think that is also giving you an answer. Those are the areas that I would really love to see some changes in.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I hear your reply, Rebecca, and I think that, you know, this is a problem we face in adult education in general, that, you know, the management and governments just not putting enough money and enough resources into adult education because it may be the lack of value they're putting on it. Would you agree with that statement? Or say you think it's especially for the more for elderly people?
I didn't get the last one. I didn't get the last phrase.
Yeah, I'm saying that this shortage of resources that is being invested in, you say in the case, for example, in Botswana, that this is something that we face a lot in general with adult education. It's a lack of valuing what adult education can bring, but and the majority of resources go to primary education or children's education. I don't know what do you think?
Yeah, that's how it is, you know, all over. The important thing is that we need to look at the wealth that is placed in adult education. Because if people do not see the value that adult education can bring to the economy, because these days it's all about building the economy and all these things, I think many of the governments, they are really not going to be taking adult education seriously. In Botswana, I think the other thing is, I still believe, is the lack of understanding of what adult education is. It's a pity and it's really frustrating because after we left the University of Botswana, remember I was in the Department of Lifelong Learning and Community Development, which is adult education at the University of Botswana, which I have worked for almost 29 years. You cannot believe that they do not now see the need for a department like that. They have phased that department out. And no one actually bothers to say why such an important department has been phased. Now, when you talk about lifelong learning and community development, they all believe social work can do the work. But you look at social work, you look at adult education. Yes, it is part of adult education, but adult education, we are more on empowerment. We want to empower people. We want people to be doing for themselves. And you find that a number of things that the social workers will be doing will be like giving others some, you know, the social protection. So is an issue of not really understanding what adult education is. Even the movement, we used to have Botswana Adult Education Association, is that we don't know what is happening, and it's really a problem because no one will be there at least to talk about the need for funding of adult education. So I don't know how it is in other countries, but here it is really slowly dying. The interesting thing is that the new government is now focusing on vocational education, which is part of adult education. That one, they have taken it very serious, and they want all vocational schools, the teachers to be, trained teachers to be hired. They have even increased, the stipend for the people who are going there to try to entice young people to go and do vocational education. But still, when they say for vocational education, and we say vocational education is part of adult education, they will tell you no, vocational education is vocational education. Adult education, I mean, some, not everyone, but some people. So I think here is basically lack of understanding of what adult education is worth and the value that it can bring to the economy of the country.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we have a lot of representatives on the webinar today from different countries. I mean, colleagues, what do you think? Do you think this is true for your country, a similar situation? Maybe we can hear from somebody with many different countries represented here. How's the situation in your country? For example, we had some, Umaima mentioned some things in the chat from Hisani, from Slimani. How are things in Algeria? Is it a similar situation? Do you find that similar there to most countries? Or I see the Carol is Carol. Maybe you can say what is the situation in Benin?
Carol, if you are talking, you are on mute.
Carole dit qu'elle a un problème de connexion, mais elle dit que la situation est similaire dans la plupart des pays en Afrique de l'Ouest. So she said that it's similar in the countries of West Africa. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions? Est-ce qu'il y a des commentaires à ajouter? Est-ce que quelqu'un veut partager avec nous son expérience aussi, comme l'a fait Monsieur Slimani? N'hésitez pas à faire ça dans le chat.
You see, Georgette is we don't hear you.
Oui, allô?
Okay.
Bonjour, bonjour. Je ne sais pas si tout le monde m'écoute. J'ai des problèmes de réseau ici. Je suis Georgette Béatrice de l'Afrique centrale, du Cameroun précisément.
Enchantée.
Oui, merci. J'ai suivi avec beaucoup d'intérêt l'exposé du Botswana et je voulais présenter quelques préoccupations. Je voulais demander à la présentatrice qu'au niveau du Botswana, est-ce qu'ils ont des centres privés? C'est-à-dire, tel que j'ai suivi, l'État est celui-là qui organise un peu l'alphabétisation des adultes. Est-ce qu'il y a des centres privés? Et la deuxième préoccupation, c'est est-ce qu'au niveau du Botswana, ils ont aussi les centres repartis dans tout le pays? C'est-à-dire, dans toutes les régions, on retrouve ces centres-là qui sont qui sont suivis par l'État, d'une part, et d'autre part, est-ce qu'on trouve des centres qui sont tenus par le secteur privé? Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. So, Rebecca, can you answer the question or should I translate this for you?
No, I heard them. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the first I can try to start with the first one where you say.
We cannot hear you, Rebecca.
You muted yourself.
Sorry, I think I touched it by mistake.
Yes.
I was saying the first one where it says, do we have a private centers
Yeah.
dedicated to adult education?
Mm-hmm.
What I will say is that yes or no. Why I'm saying yes or no, you are going to come to Botswana and find that there are centers around Botswana who are doing activities that can actually qualify to be in adult education, For example, you're going to find a number of people with caring for adults, with homes for adults. You will find others who occasionally will bring adults for training, like empowerment training. But when you look at, if you take these centers, you look at their mandate, you will not see any word that is saying adult education. But like I said, when you look at activities that they are doing, they are adult educator. So in terms of coordinated private organization for adult education, I will say I don't think we have it in Botswana. Basically, in Botswana, education is the prerogative of the government. The government of Botswana, as you all know, education is free from crash up to whatever. I just talked about OSEC, which is people will go up to the 50 years or what. And the government of Botswana is providing this adult education for free. So you will find that even if you start your own adult education as a private adult education organization, you may not get people to come and pay, because as NGO or private, you may want a little bit, a little bit of money to be paid. So as of now, we don't have coordinated, let me just say, or something that I can just come forward and say, we do have a private coordinated adult education organization. Remember, I was actually doing what Erasmus asked me to do the Botswana page for adult education. And I was going around trying to establish those organizations which will label themselves or see themselves as falling within adult education. And to be honest, I got very few. So we don't have a strong private adult education. I don't know whether I should say, I think you understand, the stronghold in Botswana. I don't think we have it. In terms of the centers of adult education that are across the country, yes, we do. And all those centers that I talked about are centers that are owned by the government, and they are across the country. Everywhere where you go, you will find centers for adult education, OSET centers, OSET across the country. We have them, but not for private organizations. We don't have a very strong hold of private entities interested in adult education per se. Thank you. I think I've answered, but if I haven't answered, I can answer. She can tell me if she still wants more to elaborate.
Ok, merci, j'ai été satisfaite par votre réponse. Merci.
Merci
Thank
à
you
vous
so
pour
much.
cette question aussi. Nous avons aussi une question de Abdoulaye. Je vous passe la parole.
Yeah. Thank you. Good afternoon, Rebecca, and thank you for your presentation. So I have a question for you in terms of sustainability. If you were to propose a strategy in 3 points, making sure that this center for senior, population should be sustainable in terms of income generating for them, what will you propose? A kind of strategy in 3 points, appealing to the government and the civil society organization partners.
I guess I'll just go to what the participants suggested, because for me, those are very strong suggestions and viable ones. For example, they talked about an integrated entrepreneur support systems. In other ways, it shouldn't just be the responsibility of the government to take care of out of school education or senior entrepreneurship. Everyone, including NGOs, private individuals who are interested, should come on board, because really when you look at the position, the location of these older adults, they are in the communities. And in our communities, all these organizations that I'm talking about, they are there and they can help. And basically during, for example, the literacy day, if you attend, I attended 2 literacy days as a guest speaker, you will find that many of these people that I'm talking about, organizations are there. You are going to be finding NGOs are there, private organizations are there, supporting in one way or the other. But the support, like I'm saying, is not coordinated. I think that is only the problem there. If the support is coordinated and doesn't come in piecemeal, then it can actually make these senior entrepreneurs visible and sustainability can be achieved. So at times it comes in piecemeal. You have to go and beg for it, and they will do it, for example, as a way of, what can I say? Oh, shame, he doesn't have, let me just help. But if there's a policy which is actually binding these other people to say you need to support, I think that can help. I think that would be my number one. And the other thing is that I wish the policy, older adult policy, it can actually pass, because they have developed it. The only thing that is left is to present it to Parliament and for the Parliament to give it a tick. Because once the Parliament gives it a tick, they are very, very clear in that policy that the responsibility of older adults does not reside with the government. The families should do something, the community should do something, the private and all these other things, they should do something. So if that policy can pass in government, then I think we can see a lot of some differences in the way older adults right now are treated and they are supported. I'm not sure whether I answered your question, Abdul.
Yes, I'm okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions?
Doesn't seem like there will be more questions. Omaima, do you want to go and do the promotion of MOJA?
Yes. So I
Alright.
will share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
OK. Donc, je vais essayer de faire vite, et ça sera en français. Donc, vous pouvez, comme je vous l'ai déjà dit, mettre la traduction en anglais. Donc, je vais juste vous le rappeler, je sais que vous le savez. Donc, MOJA est une plateforme numérique pour les praticiens de l'éducation des adultes et permet aussi de rejoindre une communauté dédiée à l'apprentissage et l'éducation des adultes. Donc, nous avons plusieurs services. Parmi ces services-là, le magazine MOJA, les ressources. Donc, vous pouvez trouver des documents, des programmes, des stratégies politiques. Nous avons aussi des événements, des webinaires, le journal de MOJA et nous travaillons en ce moment sur le 4e numéro du journal de MOJA, le renforcement de capacités à travers des formations en présentiel ou en ligne, des publications, une communauté, des profils par pays. Donc, vous pouvez trouver aussi les pages pays sur la plateforme MOJA et vous pouvez avoir des informations, accès à des informations sur chaque pays du continent africain. Et nous avons aussi nos réseaux sociaux et on souhaite vraiment vous avoir parmi nous. Donc, nous avons une page Facebook. Nous avons aussi un compte LinkedIn de Moja. Donc, si vous voulez, je vais juste agrandir un tout petit peu. Comme ça, vous pouvez directement scanner le QR code et avoir accès à nos plateformes, à nos pages. À nos réseaux sociaux. Donc, il y a la page Facebook, il y a le compte LinkedIn. Nous avons aussi une chaîne YouTube et bien sûr la plateforme Moja. Donc, on aimerait bien vous avoir parmi nous. N'hésitez pas à vous inscrire et n'hésitez pas à partager avec nous vos expériences, vos articles et tout le reste. Merci beaucoup pour votre attention et voilà, je vous souhaite